Hi folks, today I'm going to go over how to do an installation of the Commodore 64 BBS using Color 64 BBS version 8.1 alpha. This software comes in a prepackaged format with a modified version of Vice64 emulator. For anyone that wants to feel the retro age and having a living and breathing BBS housed inside your Windows computer, this is a perfect package for you. There's also other prepackaged versions that come for Linux and for the real thing, a Commodore 64 using an SD to IEC drive. All software packages can be found here at my BBS wiki, color64wiki.itchybutt.org. Yes, that's itchybutt. That's the name of my BBS. Make sure as you do this installation you either follow the online sysop manual in the area of the specific system requirements or the installation, or you download the hard copy of the sysop manual and do the same. This will be very important as you set up the system. That being said, the Windows installation is a pre-built one. There's not a lot of modifications that you have to make. So go ahead and download that and you'll see it pop up right at your Windows once it's done. Okay, so we have our file downloaded. You don't have to have this in a specific directory. Any place is fine within your Windows so long as you got normal access to it. So I'm just going to go ahead and pop this right over to our Documents folder. It's about 50 megabytes. Again, it's coming with all the Vice stuff in it, as well as the LTK disks, which are pretty large disks. So now we're going to go ahead and go into it. You'll see here that it's got the ICEA fix. This is for high-speed modem use within the Commodore environment. Works very well. It also comes with the D64 masters of these disks. So if you ever need to access the normal files, you could use your DIR master software and be able to get to the files from there. They're mainly just in case you need to go into those for a backup reason. Outside that, this is already all pre-built. It's within these disk images right here, and it's all set up for it. Since we are using the LTK environment, we're following under system requirements of the LT kernel hard drive system. Again, it's all pre-configured, ready to go. But just so you know that it's here, this is some of the work that had to be done, incorporate into various files, changes that were required for the use of the Lieutenant Kernel command system. The installation of the pre-configured builds is under this installation section of the wiki. You go down to pre-configured builds, and it tells you specifically the items that need to be done. You'll see there's a section for Linux, and there's a section for Windows. Obviously on this one, we're working with Windows. Our file content includes text files to describe the changes that have been made. We also have text files that run with the TCP SIR program. This is your modem software for the Windows computer. We have messages for if you're busy. You can modify these at your own leisure. If there's no answer, it'll print that. Again, you can modify that. We also have our BAT files. The main file is this mybbs.bat. This will launch your Vice simulator using this BAT file and the TCP SIR program using this BAT file. One important item to note is that in the TCP SIR BAT file, if you were to go in and look at it in Notepad, this is a defined port that you would want users to call in to your BBS on. This is the internal port that links to your Vice emulator, your baud rate, and then of course if there's an answer, this is what's shown in the answer. If that file exists, same thing applies for connect, same thing applies for no answer, or if the modem's busy. The important key points: you want to set this port to the port that you desire. A lot of people use 6400, 8502, 6502. It's up to you. And then this internal port, you want to note that number or make a change to it if you need to. And out of that, you would want to go into this config file. This is your configuration for your Vice simulator. And you want to make sure that that port matches. So again, that number in TCP SIR 25237 should match your config any. You can use any number you want, but it needs to match. Okay, so just to make sure there's no confusion, when you're going through the installation section of this, copying over the files, this has already been completed with these builds. You don't have to worry about that. Creating the boot files using the bootmaker program, that has also been completed for these pre-configured builds. So all this has been already set up for you. The boot program details do exist for you. These commands are there, so you'll want to learn these commands and make sure that you understand how they operate. This is all under the installation section, so make sure you're familiar with this. You'll want to know the plus BBS, the plus reboot setup. We'll show you that in a second. Editor will also show you that in a second, as well as shell. BBS parms file. We'll be working in this some today. This is already pre-configured for you, but you'll want to change some things just to give your own flair to the BBS. This is where you do the core of that work, setting up your main parameters, disk assignments, the upload download parameters, your message base and how you want that functioning. So we want to go through that. All right, so we'll go over to the installation again and we'll look at prior to running. This is a key important point that you want to make sure you do. So the main thing is to update your sysop account number 2 when you run the BBS. It's currently set up for the number 2 user is sysop, that's always there. But the name is now sysop and the password is sysop. So obviously you'll want to change that. So we're going to do that on this evolution today. The things with the SMT server password, the BBS does have an option to do email notification to you if there's an event like a user logs on or some of that nature that you want email notifications on it. If you're interested in getting those email notifications, then you'd want to set up this area and make sure you have it all pre-configured. There is a script that comes with this build called Notify. It's a Python script, and that needs to be set up for your computer. Some of the things you'll want to make sure you change are these screens: sysop in, sysop out, welcome 1, welcome 2, system start 2. All these are pre-configured screens that will be displayed to the user that you'll want to change to make your BBS unique. These are all not mandatory. Some of them you could just omit, like if you had welcome 2 not existent, the BBS would just continue humming along. So you'll want to make sure as you go through these notes, decide what you want and what you don't want. That's going to be in this main section, the system messages. And in this, it describes what each message is, kind of gives you an example, and that'll help you on your way to configure your BBS. Okay, to start your BBS, we're going to go ahead and click on the mybbs.bat file. It'll probably give you, do you really want to run this? And as it runs to the TCP SIR program for the first time, it'll ask if you want to allow to run that as well. You probably won't see that here. Okay, and you're going to see that immediately comes up in the Lieutenant Colonel environment, which is great. That's exactly what we wanted. First thing we'll want to do is change that sysop password before we do anything. So we're going to go ahead and load the BBS. In Lieutenant Kernel environment, that's all you need to type is plus BBS. The alternative, that's going to automatically load it and run it. You could type load BBS, or you could do the traditional load BBS. For this sake, we'll just go ahead and do BBS. Okay, don't worry about the date or time. And one thing I will say is if you want to make sure your TCP ser is running right, you should see this DTR has gone high. And you're going to see your init string come by here and OK goes through the status screen. That tells you your modem is working. And overall, Vice is talking to TCP ser. I'm going to have a hard time with that name. And it's talking back to Vice. So first thing we want to do is come back over to Vice, go to F1, and we're going to go into this password maintenance. We're going to do record 2. This might take a second because when I originally built this, there was a lot of records in this and I cleaned them all up. So it's actually going through a bunch of the records that have since been deleted. Okay, so we have a total of 1 password. We're going to edit record number 2. Yep, you want access level 9. That's your sysop level access. You're going to change this to your name. It could be full name, whatever you want to call. Password. What shall we do today? Let's do giddy up. I guess I could change the real name too, but all right, so that is done. Okay, from there we can shut the BBS down. You can actually log in at this point. You're going to see the screens that are all pre-built. Couple of things about this WFC screen. This is your wait for call screen. It'll show you all the latest stats that have occurred since midnight, except for in these areas of the high message and low message. That is throughout the duration of the BBS. What's current stats? Your sysop out flag is changed by the left arrow on the Commodore board. On your PC screen, this would be the tilde. So you can say if you're in or out for when a user tries to chat you. The up arrow is for this email notify. Again, you have to have your Python script running on your computer if you want this function to work. So the up arrow is actually that bar key on the PC. That changes that. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and shut down the BBS. That's F8. Sure, we do want to shut down. So all of your screens are within the root directory here. You'll see that when you look at it, there's your menus, you have banner, log off, if the user has no mail. All these are described in that manual as to what they contain and what you want to do to change them. So again, they're all kind of pre-made at the moment, but they're just so you can kind of see what they look like. You will want to go and change these. Not every single one of these are a regular file. Again, you want to go through the manual to see what file does what. So like these are system files. You won't want to change those, but something like upload message you would want to change. In order to do that, you can go into your editor. So as you go through the editor, follow along here in the system messages section of the manual, and you'll see each one that you'll probably want to check out and see. So if we go to the F1 editor, and we know that we're in the default drive, so we don't have to worry about any of that. Check mark, by the way, is going to be a shift, and the key next to your P screen on your keyboard, that's the bracket. That's what makes your check mark. System start. That'll be our first one we want to do. Alright, so this is the default screen right here. You'll want to customize that. Easiest way to do this is you can do new. So yep, we're sure. Now, one point to note on this, the very first file displayed when the user connects, keep this in lowercase. That's because we don't know if they're in PETSCII, ANSI, or ASCII. So we're just going to say, hey, welcome to our new BBS. And you can use your name, Hunky Dory. All right. And you can type as much as you want on that. And after you're done, you say save it. Yep, we're going to save that. And you want to do that for each of these files. Now, on the following file, system start 2 immediately follows the system start. Make sure you include verbiage to the user to press the delete or backspace key. That's going to be for their detection on if they're a Commodore computer or not. So we're going to open a new file. Yep. System start 2. And you'll see I already got that in there. Please press your delete or backspace key. You can change it to whatever you want. Again, lowercase is probably the best thing to do. After that, if they have a successful Commodore PETSCII, it's going to print out banner. If they're ANSI, it'll be a banner. And then otherwise, it will just be a regular ASCII. It'll jump to welcome 1. So, change that as you would like. Let's see what I got in there for right now. We'll go to File. Yep. And we'll check out banner. Okay, that's what I got currently for the default package. If you like it, great. If you don't, change it up and you can do it to however you want it. Welcome 1 is going to be your, whoops, highlighted way too much. Welcome 1's going to be the big banner. Hey, this is my main greeting. What's the BBS theme? Kind of, spell it out how you want to do it there. Welcome 2 is just after they've already hit a key. It's optional, displayed after they successfully logged in. It could be graphical or it could be minimal. A good example of this, I'll show you kind of how my BBS looks. We'll go down to Itchy. And this will give you a good idea. That is your system start 1 file. You can see it's all printed in uppercase, even though we put it in lowercase. This is how it's reached to the end user. Press backspace. It sees that it's a Commodore graphics, prints out my cool graphics screen. And then it comes to my main login. You won't have a login like this. This is my own coding. This is welcome 1 screen that's about to come up. That's welcome 1 right there. That is your sysop in or out message, which is triggered by your wait for call screen. Like I said, you can toggle if you're in or out. Your no mail screen. And this is a neat feature with Color 64 version 8.1 is the user can have a graphical screen of their name if they so desire to make one. So I did make one. For me, that's a screen that prints up. It also prints up to the user when they try to email me. If they put in my name on a direct email, it'll shoot up this graphical screen. Another thing to show is wall. And that's this guest book right here. Shouldn't be anything in here. Oh, it is because we're on my BBS. So this is the wall. Your BBS will have one as well, but it'll be empty. And it is optional. This one right here that you see here, that is sayings. That's down, somewhere down here. Sayings. So you can have random sayings print right before the command line. And you could have, I think it's up to 6. And those again are optional. If they're not there, the system won't show anything. It won't error out. That's your log off screen. And that's what it looks like. So if we come and we say, that's the log off screen, you can see I just said, hey, this is the last screen displayed to the user before you disconnect. This would be something you want to modify. So as you go through and modify all these different items to customize your BBS, you'll start getting the flavor, right, that of how you want your system to look. The mod submenus I don't use in version 8.1 alpha. They are there and you can invoke them. Mod menu is how games was used in the older versions of Color 64. I rebuilt that, and so now we aren't actually using these mod screens anymore, but they are there as an option. You'd have to read in the menu on how to reinstate those if you want to make those work. Alright, so we're going to quit out of this. This, by the way, this editor has a nice DOS wedge in it where you can do copies, you can do file maintenance, however you want to do it. This read newsletter is an old thing. It doesn't work anymore. That was back from the 80s and 90s, I guess, of Color 64 when they built newsletters. Okay, so now we're going to go ahead and do our setup. The setup, you want to be into this main section right here, setup parameters. It's going to show you all the different questions that come up as you're defining the setup. Make sure you read these as you answer each question so you understand what you're doing. But so we're going to load setup with plus setup. I'll immediately come up here. Most of these are already pre-configured for you. However, you'll want to tweak them. Okay, so we go into main parameters. Now this can say how many lines do you want per message. Right now it's going to show you the maximum 200. This system is a power horse with the LTK environment and vice. So you can have these max numbers. It's really up to you. If it's too much for the users, you can tweak this so they're not having to wade through so much stuff. One thing I will talk about is maximum number of messages. I have it set for 230, and I ran my BBS on this actually for some time. It does get annoying if you've had a system crash and it has to rebuild, or let's say you didn't shut down. A crash wouldn't really do it. If you didn't shut down your BBS properly, that doesn't save the message indexes the way it's supposed to, and so when it restarts, it's going to rebuild that message index. This number of messages, 230, makes it very long. Now you can go into warp mode on the Vice simulator and it'll chew through that so much quicker. But I have also had out of memory errors when you're getting up to this level. I actually reduced my BBS down to 250. There is another consideration with that. New users, as they come in, if they have to go through 230 messages to get to the top message, it might be something that they just say, oh, this is not worth it. So consider that as well. 230 messages is a lot. So maybe back it off to 175 or 150, whatever you think. The system will do okay with 230, but it is at that maximum. So So then you'll see maximum password number is the next one. Having a max number of users is set for 175. That is what the maximum password number I identified for the pre-build. You can go higher if you want. The system should be able to handle it. I don't know how far it will go in an LTK environment, but 175 in this day and age is quite appropriate. We are seeing an uptick in users because of the Commodore 64 Ultimate release, so there are a lot more users joining, but right now I haven't gotten near this number. You could always expand it if you want, so there's that as well. All right, so follow along in the manual for a lot of these other ones just to get them down the way you want them. I think the main thing I want to hit on is the system baud rate. 38400 is per design. We can actually go up to that level. If you read the old Commodore Color 64 BBS manuals, they were limited to 9600. That's not so in this environment because with the modified Vice that we are running, has the ACIA fix in it and allows this higher speed baud rate. It emulates SwiftLink. So this one, DDMCI on, is actually recommended to be no. That's down here in the manual. I had it on because in the original design that I did, it was set that way. I'm sorry, the original design I inherited, it was set that way. This field is not used. It's in the password file. It's for the sysop to determine how it is used. If you want to put information about notes on a user in there, you can. However, it would print out if you decide to allow MCI to be printed. So in this case, I would recommend no if you're going to be using that field. All right, again, follow along for these ones. The main thing on this one, multiple DIRs per drive, you don't have to worry about that in an LTK environment. This build is already pre-designed for the directories. You do not need multiple DIRs in this. You would need it if you're going to be having your download section like on a 1571 drive, a 1581, or a 1541 drive. Your modem does support DTR in the TCP/SIR environment. You would want BPS to connect at appropriate rate as per how the user is connecting. So if they're at 2400 baud or 9600 baud, you want your system to be able to adjust for that. Network operations, you don't need to worry about that unless you want to be a part of the Color 64 network, which there's only a few of us on it right now. If you are interested in that, be sure to contact me at nuke@itchybutt.org and we can get you set up on that. The modem init command is already pre-designed for TCP/SIR, so don't mess with that. And outside of that, fast garbage collect. You can have this on. It's not needed in the Vice environment. You have plenty of power. The system operates fine for the users without this on. This would be if for some reason you're eating up tons of variable space memory and the system's running out and it wants to do a faster garbage collect. I have had this on in the past and I have not seen a significant change for the end user having that on. Once you're done, you can say yes and you can save from there. Okay, now that's going to be for your main parameters. Now one thing we'll want to look at, disk assignments. This is already all pre-done. You don't have to mess with that. If you look in your README text file down at the bottom, you'll see I have a file structure that tells you where is all contained where, and that's all preset in these disk drive assignments. So your public messages are right here under LU1 user 0. So if you actually went in there, you'll see it's at LU1 user 0. Okay, so we're going to go ahead out of that. upload download parameters would be the area that you want to modify. Ooh, I can win. Oh, excellent. I love Microsoft. Now you'll see this one I just set up 5 categories for downloads, and I just called it something. You'll want to change that. And you could add categories if you want. You can make it smaller. That's all dependent on this number that you set. So 6 would obviously include uploads, and then these 5 categories. So A should always be uploads, and then the rest would be downloads. So that is up for you to edit. You would just come in, you can change it. Again, that's set for LU1 user 1. And there you go. Hi Mom is now one of your categories. Once you have that all done, then you go ahead and save it. Then you can go in, how do you want time limits per user level access? Message categories, that's going to be pretty much the same as what you saw with the upload download parameters. Again, I did 6 category announcements, and you just modify that how you want. You can change the number to whatever you want and then just set it up. As you go to enter the different ones, you'll note that it is per user level access. So users at level 4 can access this. And that is all listed here in your message categories. Done. Yeah, it's correct. BBS commands you won't have to worry about much yet, but that would be where you define what commands are available and who can use them. Color 64 settings is for your own unique taste of your BBS, how you want your colors to show. You don't need to modify carrier type on this build. So at that point we are done. We can save the parameters and we can exit. So at this point you would have your upload download directory set, your message category set, and hopefully you've gone through and you've done all your different screens, or you're slowly modifying those, right? You've got them close enough. You can always modify them more as you need to. So at that point, our BBS would be complete. So from there, you're going to be able to run your BBS and it would actually be up and running. It's done. This is a really easy build to do. The only difficult part is doing the screens. And again, that would be using the editor. There is another option you can do though. So we'll check that out here in a second. We'll just skip the date and time for now. Okay, so at this point, our BBS is ready and it's up and running, although I didn't set the right time and date, but that's okay. We'll skip that for now. What I was going to show you is how you can quickly modify screens. So included in the build is a program called Kaleidoscope. It is like the most awesome screen program you can run. Oops, splat. So we're going to run that. So the Kaleidoscope program is perfect for creating some of these screens. So we'll do welcome to. Go into edit. Go ahead and go into lowercase. That's Control Shift. If you can get it right, there you go. All right, so let's say we want to modify this. So we can change our colors. Oops. We'll go ahead and wipe that out. There are easier ways to do this, by the way, but I'm under pressure here, so. And we'll do bright red. There we go. Boom. Save. No, we don't need cursor rights, and sure, we'll cut off extra lines. That's the easiest way. It does have a cut and copy and paste feature. You can wipe out large blocks of areas if you want to. It only does one screen. You can't go beyond the 25 lines. Actually, I think you can now, but I haven't tried it, so I'm not going to define it here. But in any case, if you want to be able to work on your menus or anything like that, so let's say no, we're going to save this. What was this? Welcome to? I think it was. File exists. Sure, we'll replace it. All right, so let's try menu 1. Getting the check mark. I'm hitting Control key. Go into edit. Okay, it's going to be lowercase we want, so go into lowercase. This is your menu 1. Modify as you would want. So again, this goes back to how you set up your commands in the parameters. If you didn't change those, this is valid. If you did, then you might need to change some things. One more important point to note. If you notice that your clock is not keeping up time once you have that set, there's a couple things you can check. Go into Preferences, and down at Settings, you're going to want to make sure that you are set for the model of NTSC. You also want to make sure your power frequency is set at 60 Hertz. Also, one other point, I haven't seen it as much in Windows, but in the Linux display, it definitely helps to turn off double size and double scan. Also, if you want to, but I don't think it affects anything as far as the clock is concerned, you can turn off sprite-to-sprite collisions and sprite-to-background collisions. They're not needed. So that's about it. There are some new features within Color 64 8.1. User settings user profile is one of them. How the games are loaded is another one. You'll want to check those out. There are also games that are included with the package. And outside of that, if you have questions, we do have a discourse. So outside of the manual, if you went to itchybutt.org and go there, hey, she's a pro and she's 65 and $1.1 million. Dang, okay. I want to see that. So anyway, at itchybutt.org we have a discourse for Color 64 BBS. If you have questions, you want to share some ideas of modifications, anything like that, this is a perfect place to do it. But why is my BBS not showing up? Okay, and so this discourse forum is a place to come to. You'll see in it that we have a specific area for Color 64. That's a red little area there, and that will help you along. So be sure you register for this, sign up, and you'll see any news feeds from me about things I'm coming out with for the software and any questions you might have. So that's it for the Windows build. I'll probably do another one for the Linux build, but it's very, very similar. It's just different in its architecture as far as bad files aren't bad files. So outside of that, if you have questions, be sure to reach out to me. Thanks all.